The St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update, where we connect you to the parish community as you experience the presence of Christ.
Hey, what's up, and welcome to the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update, week of October the 13th. I'm Brandon Barker, and I'm joined with Leilani Freitas, Evan Swindle, and Isabel Keith, coming at you from the basement here at St. Thomas Aquinas Catholic Parish.
How's the weather out there?
Oh, man, it is October.
It is October.
Glorious. Well, anybody else want to talk about the weather, or shall we jump into the fun fact of the day?
Let's just dive in.
Let's just dive in.
Yeah.
Okay, so the fun fact is October the 14th is the memorial of Saint Callistus the First, who's a pope. And like many popes, they had different focuses on different things, different themes, different things that their pontificate kind of brought about, because there's different seasons in the church and God knows what we need. And so he works through imperfect leaders, but leaders nonetheless to, bring about certain things. And so for him, what he promoted was reconciliation and forgiveness. Those were the things. And so it's not that every pope doesn't promote reconciliation and forgiveness, but some that just is a highlight of. And so, that's him. So I don't know if this is the time to ask, but if you were pope, right, which none of us is going to happen, but I'm just saying, like what,
not two of us.
What would be the focus? Like opening up get a little controversy.
Ooh.
Controversy. Yeah. What would kind of be your focus? Someone's like, man, they were remembered for forgiveness and reconciliation.
I have no idea.
I honestly
about this.
love that. Like you said, not saying that that's not a highlight of like our faith,
right?
But just love like how he really promoted this so well and like made it his thing, because I think it is much needed.
Yeah.
I think it's that sacrament like often forgot about within our faith. Like we know it's there, but it's like it's hard for us to do it. So I'm glad that like a leader promoted it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess to answer your question, I feel like just on the spot, what I would say is, obviously, I will never be the Pope, but I would do like evangelization and then joy, like the joy of evangelization.
Yeah,
that's
the joy of the gospel.
Be known for. Yeah.
What would you do, Brandon?
Yeah, I was going to say joy.
Oh.
Probably because I need to hear that more than anybody.
Yeah.
It's one of those, sometimes I forget and like why I'm doing the things that I'm doing, and just being reminded, just even while we're doing this right now, and doing things with joy, like where joy comes from. And so like sometimes again, we forget about reconciliation or forgiveness or stuff. Just, man, sometimes we forget to be joyful. Like we should be the most joy-filled people that's ever existed on the face of the earth, because we know the truth. We know God. We're his children. I mean, what every human being longs for, we got it.
Yeah.
I mean, and so all the things that are problems or challenges that we face, I mean, in the big scheme of things, like should never steal our joy. So but I lose sight of that often. So that's what I would be talking to myself first and foremost by highlighting the year of the joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think how JB2 did, like they all do the audience, weekly audience, but how he like did the theology of the body almost every time. I would do the lives of the saints, because I think that's often forgot about. Like we know that we have tons of saints and they're there, but like really like breaking that open for like the everyday Catholic.
And you have a lot of devotion to a lot of different saints. So I think it's like whatever is most important to you.
Yeah.
And draws you closer to Christ is like what you're going to be devoted to and spending your time and energy and your passion doing. So
What's yours?
I don't know. I mean, probably the young people and family, mostly because that's my role now and where God has called me. And I just care about it so much, and like always grateful for my family and those relationships that I have. So focusing on that, and that is like what they say, like the school of love and like where love begins in the home. I know we've talked about that here. So I'd probably be focused on that. I know that's pretty broad, but
I love it.
Yeah.
I really love it.
I do too. I mean, and so, I mean, the reality of it none of us are going to become Pope. And to our listeners and viewers out there, you most likely are not going to either, but that doesn't mean that just because you can't have a focus in your pontificate, that you can't have a focus for your life or your family or this week or this year. And so I think those things that we said, I mean, that's for me what needs to be my focus this next year, this next month, or whatever the case is. So yeah, just be thinking about that is what would your answer be, and how can you implement that in your life? Thank you, Saint Callistus I. All right, let's jump in. What's going on at St. Thomas Aquinas this week here in Dallas, Texas?
Yes. So we have the regular stuff going on, so check out the website. But we have a lot of feast days going on, not just here at St. Thomas, but in the church.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to highlight those. We don't have all of them on here just because there are so many feast days this month, but we have some for this week. So St. Teresa of Jesus is on October 15th. And St. Hedwig and St. Margaret Mary Alacoque is on October 16th. And then on October 17th, we have St. Ignatius of Antioch, his memorial. So, yeah, pretty full week and a pretty full month.
St. Antioch, or St. Ignatius of Antioch, man, he was a big part of my coming into full communion with the Catholic Church. Because, I mean, you got someone who is like the early church, you know, and you got disciples of the Apostle John, you know, who's the Apostle John. And so you have guys like him and St. Polycarp and St. Irenaeus that are early on, and just like reading his writings is pretty profound. I mean, that was something for me. I just thought the Bible stopped and didn't realize that there was all these other, theoretically, it's like, yeah, of course there were disciples, but the fact that they wrote these writings, you know, in the church fathers, and we can read those, that just really blew my mind. And I couldn't get enough. I mean, I was reading all these leaders of the church, and because, their connection, you know, St. Clement of Rome and all these witnesses to the faith that are reinforcing what seemed like very Catholic beliefs, and it was confusing to me as a non-Catholic. So, yeah.
That's a good segue into another doctor of the church that we're celebrating the feast day. Lonnie, why don't you tell us who that is?
Yeah, so on October 15th, as Isabel shared, St. Teresa of Jesus, or better known as St. Teresa of Avila, that's her feast day. And she has a quote talking about mental prayer, and I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but she's basically saying, like, mental prayer is nothing else than an intimate sharing between friends. And kind of moving from that, understanding, like, just taking the time to be in the presence of the Lord and not overthinking, not going through your to-do list of prayer intentions or just like talking at God, but just spending time with him and loving him and letting love be your focus and ultimately him. And so she kind of talks about the point of mental prayer is to share and be in the presence of the Lord and to love him. Like, what is it in your heart that stirs you to love better and to love the Lord? And it's not just about like having delight in the Lord, but it's having the desire to please God in everything and just be in communion with him. So mental prayer is something that I can sometimes struggle with. I tend to go to the Lord with a lot of things on my mind, and it's good to like process with the Lord in those things, but it's also good to like quiet your heart and enter into the silence and stillness and just be there and love him and let him love you in return. But I don't know if y'all want to share anything on that as we wrap up.
Just the fact that so much of prayer is active on our part, but this mental prayer you're talking about, it's more passive in nature. It's receiving just that love, and which is hard to do. But you know, as I've said before, it's like if you're riding in a car with someone that you don't know very well, then silence is awkward. You know, like silence is, it can be super awkward, and so you find yourself just trying to make up stuff, or it's just awkward. But the more you get to know someone, you know, and the closer you are with them, you can be in the car with them 6, 7, 10, how many hours, not say a word, but just that love and that connection is so powerful. And so the more we get to know the Lord, the less that silence is awkward, and the more that we realize that is where we fill up with his love, that we can go then, share with others. But we can't give what we don't have. And that's mental prayer is where it's at. It really is. I mean, the church gives us that and talks about it.
Mental prayer is one of my favorite forms of prayer, actually. So, and I know that I've talked about this before, but after seeing Chris Stefanik talk, I think like 2 years ago, he talked about just how he just like says, "Thank you, Jesus," all the time. And I feel like I started saying that in frustrating like situations, just like calling upon Jesus, like, "Thank you, Jesus." But now I found myself like driving like, "Ooh, that's a beautiful like sky that I'm seeing tonight. Thank you, Jesus." Like, I just find myself like thanking him so much. And then that leads to like deeper, like more conversations with him, just like thoughts of, wow, like my life is so blessed. Like, thank you, Jesus, for letting me wake up today. And you just find so many things to thank him for. But like maybe even finding reminders. I know this is so simple, but when I was younger, I was at the Pines Catholic Camp, and my counselors were like, "Okay, let's make this bracelet. And every single time you see this bracelet, thank Jesus for something. Like, just find something in the day to thank him for." So now I'll always be wearing bracelets, and it's just a reminder to stop and thank Jesus. So there are like little things that you can remind yourself to pray with, but just that mental conversation with him is amazing.
It's where it's at.
Yeah. So we encourage you guys to take a minute this week and reflect on how you can incorporate this into your life, and maybe find a small corner in your room and just enter into that silence with him and let him love you.
There's a book by Father Jacques Philippe that we used to give out quite a bit. I mean, have copies in our office. It's on mental prayer. And it's really small book that's pretty short, but it packs a punch and it's great. And so I know that for people that are wanting to know more about mental prayer, what would be a great next step? That book by Father Jacques Philippe on mental prayer would be a great step in the right direction. Evan, you want to close us out this week? Or do you want me to do so?
It's all you.
Okay.
The honor is yours.
Well, with that being the case, remember St. Thomas Aquinas family that we were walking with every person that we encountered to experience the presence of Christ. Now, we are praying for you all, and we ask for your prayers too. And that concludes this week's edition of the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update. I'm Brandon Barker, Leilani Freitas, Evan Swindle, and Isabel Keith coming at you again from the basement here at St. Thomas Aquinas. Have a great week, and until next week, Godspeed.
You've been listening to the St. Thomas Aquinas Weekly Update. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram at STA Dallas and visit the website at www.stadallas.org.